Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz travelled to the Polish capital Warsaw with 12 ministers and government members, including Defence Minister Boris Pistorius. However, a highly anticipated meeting dubbed a New Beginning has failed to deliver any substantial steps. German politicians delivered no improvement towards settling the war reparations or support for strengthening the Polish-Belarusian border fence. In response to the Polish demand for a monument to Polish war victims in Berlin, Germany issued a note stating their resolve to build a Polish-German institution.
Tu nikt nikogo nie chce ograć w tej sprawie.
Olaf Scholz argues that the issue of reparations for Poland is already closed. He declared a different kind of support. After all, it is quite clear that remembrance and coming to terms with the past will never be complete for us. And Germany recognises its historical responsibility without ifs and buts. And that is why the German government is always in dialogue with the Polish government on issues relating to the enormous task of coming to terms with the past. And we are constantly working to ensure that we can achieve improvements. As far as the issue of reparations is concerned, the German government's legal position on this is well known. But that doesn't change the fact that we are constantly looking at how we can improve things. And that is why I have also mentioned here that we will continue to make proposals in this regard and push things forward on our own initiative, because we believe that we have this responsibility. Everyone can rely on that. And the situation of older victims, for example, is one that concerns us greatly. And we will also undertake activities in this area. Chancellor Scholz promised that a place to commemorate the Polish victims of World War II would be established in Berlin. He is echoed by Donald Tusk, who spoke about Poland's forced waiver of reparations. The issue of reparations, one is a formal renunciation of communism, and the other is what Poland would actually be owed by Germany as a result of these losses. These are two completely different issues, and Chancellor Scholz also speaks openly. And this is the advantage of this meeting, that in the formal and legal sense, reparations are closed from Germany's point of view. I do not share the position that Polish authorities, any Polish authorities, whether communist or any Polish authorities, have ever effectively waived the right and claims to redress us for the wrongs suffered by Poles and the Polish nation. Because Poland never waived its right to compensation from Germany for losses in World War II. Because Poland never waived its right to compensation for World War II. Of all the European countries that were occupied by Germany, Poland as a state was the most affected by German extermination and German destruction. Of course, this is often forgotten, and the Germans are not aware in their historical narrative that such a thing existed. During the rule of the United Right, a team led by Arkadiusz Molarczyk prepared a report published on the 1st of September 2022 on the losses suffered by Poland as a result of German aggression and occupation during World War II. This resignation may consist in limiting or reducing in some way the 6 trillion that it is known that Germany should pay back, more or less, because the total compensation due from Germany for Poland's material and intangible losses is 6,220,609,000,000 zloty. Both the German side and the current government are trying to do everything to show Polish, German and international public opinion that they are doing something to close this issue. This is needed especially by Germans, who want to whitewash their image. Therefore, according to the opposition, Chancellor Scholz's visit to Warsaw is nothing other than a failure of Donald Tusk. This is absolutely unacceptable and illegal because the Polish government is obliged to demand full compensation from the Germans for all crimes. He contented himself with tokens, in the form of payment of some compensation to survivors 85 years after the outbreak of World War II. It seems that Tusk's government, for which Germany is the most important ally, may agree to proposals for an unspecified amount for Poles still alive today who remember World War II, at a loss for Poland. FatherMichał Olszewski's account, according to which the priest was treated very badly by Donald Tusk's secret services at the beginning of his detention, shocked public opinion. The Prime Minister threatens that people accusing the team of torture will be brought to justice. Jarosław Kaczynski, however, confirmed his support for the imprisoned priest. At the same time, Poles are organising demonstrations across the country in defence of the priest. What happened to FatherMichał Olszewski, according to the reports, is reminiscent of the darkest years of communism. I ate my first meal after 60 hours when my lawyer brought me a parcel from my brother to the court. I had my first contact with my lawyer after 20 hours. Lawyers have no doubt the Secret Services broke the law. According to the report, he indicated in his letter, we are dealing with irregularities, but at the level of detention, at the level of the officers who detained FatherMichał, and then with irregularities at the level of the police detention centre. When we arrived at the custody place, I was told that at that time there was nothing, neither supper nor water. I begged for half a bottle of tap water, brought in a bottle that was empty in the cell. In the morning, when I asked to be taken to the toilet, I heard, "There's a water bottle, pour into it." According to the United Right MPs, the detention of FatherMichał is of a political nature and is about creating hooks against the opposition. This is Tusk's team in all its glory. He was humiliated, tortured in order to force him to give a specific confession, to make him say something about politicians from our camp. It turned out that I was under special supervision. Hence the camera, handcuffs even when going out for a walk, isolation from others, crossings under special supervision, and being woken up with light every hour throughout the night. The first 2 weeks were the hardest. I didn't see anything, I couldn't learn anything from anyone. Importantly, the priest is detained for poorly formulated foundation statutes, and at the same time murderers are released. Here, in the pre-trial detention centre, I have often heard from department officers and educators that these restrictions on me are abnormal, but this is what the governing body ordered. I can't be anywhere apart from the camera, and if some guard, for example, failed to handcuff me on the way to the park or shower, 50 metres, he would be punished immediately. The general atmosphere was that the governing body is applying pressure, but certainly not just me. It is how it is. We fight. The Ministry of Justice, managed by Adam Bodnar, sees nothing wrong with this method of detaining the priest. The information obtained from the press office of the Ministry of Interior and Administration shows that the suspect's detention was in accordance with applicable regulations. Michał O. was informed about his rights. He did not file any complaints and signed the report on the activities carried out with his participation without any objections. There have been opinions in the public space according to which the methods used against FatherMichał are ordinary torture. Prime Minister Tusk reacted nervously to such accusations. It seems reasonable to take the case to court, those who accuse the government of torturing the priest. It is so absurd that I don't even want to comment on it. Law and Justice firmly opposes the persecution of the priest and announced support for the imprisoned priest. FatherMicha has submitted a notification to the United Nations Committee Against Torture in this matter. We will take up this matter everywhere here, but also internationally. Poles do not agree to such actions of the 13th December government. That is why Gazeta Polska clubs and other organizations spontaneously are organizing protests throughout the country. In Warsaw, near the prison where FatherMichał is being held, demonstrations take place every day at 8 p.m. It's vacation time, but let's mobilize. Let us come from cities, towns and villages to the places where the protests are organized. There is also an online campaign to collect signatures for a petition in defense of FatherMichał. Everyone may express their solidarity without leaving home via the website uwolniczmichała.pl. Republika TV is covering the countrywide protests against FatherMichał Olszewski's imprisonment. Our reporter, Michał Zielonek, was physically attacked by bystanders while reporting live from the Warsaw Detention Centre. Today, in front of the detention centre in Warsaw, where FatherMichał Olszewski is being held, there was an attempt to disrupt the work of our team. The provocateur attacked our team, almost damaging expensive equipment. It all happened during live coverage. This is the result of the fight against media pluralism in Poland, which has been going on since Donald Tusk's coalition took power. The supporters of the currently ruling PO coalition are not supporters of any party, but a sect based on hatred. The attacks on Telewizja Republika began immediately after the appointees of the former Minister of Culture illegally took over public media. Last December, Colonel Bartłomiej Sienkiewicz underestimated the potential of our station. Later, he tried to make the work of our journalists difficult. Until I can be certain that this institution is a journalistic institution and not an institution of thieves, I see no reason to invite these representatives to my press conferences. This is not a coincidence. It is a conscious action of this government to silence, suppress and even destroy media such as Telewizja Republika. Attacks by politicians and supporters of the civic platform on Telewizja Republika result from the fear of difficult questions that our reporters ask Tusk's coalition politicians. That's what this election is about, so that we don't get asked these types of questions all the time. The government decided that there would be no media in Poland that could effectively criticise them. which is why our journalists are not allowed to attend Prime Minister Donald Tusk's press conferences. The fact that we have such support among people, that we function, that we are developing, that we are becoming and soon will be the largest television in Poland, hurts those who are afraid of criticism. Telewizja Republiki journalists will not stop asking difficult questions and striving for the truth. Ukrainian officials said on Monday that they had thwarted an attempted coup, arresting individuals who had conspired to allegedly stage a riot in Kiev. According to Ukraine's Internal Security Service, a group of activists were detained on Sunday for trying to create riots over the weekend that would lead to the removal of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's government from power. The SBU did not name the individuals, and it is unclear whether they are connected to Russia. The detained individuals face up to 10 years in prison. And in other news from Ukraine, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban visited Kiev and promised a strengthening of the relations, while US Defense Secretary pledged an additional $2.3 billion for the country's defense. The United States will soon announce more than $2.3 billion in new security assistance for Ukraine, United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said on Tuesday during a meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart at the Pentagon. Austin also gave a nod to Ukraine's aspirations eventually to join NATO. At next week's NATO summit in Washington, D.C., Austin said, "We will take steps to build a bridge to NATO membership for Ukraine."
Well, good morning, Minister Umerov, and welcome back to the Pentagon. Rustem, it was great to see you in Brussels 3 weeks ago for the 23rd meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Thanks for your close and continuing partnership. Now, Ukraine is in a tough fight and has been ever since the start of Putin's reckless war of choice. The Kremlin continues to intensify its bombardment of your cities and civilians. But I continue to be impressed by the skill of your forces, and your troops continue to fend off Russia's attacks with grit, ingenuity, and courage. So make no mistake, Ukraine is not alone, and the United States will never waver in our support. Alongside some 50 allies and partners, we'll continue to provide the critical capabilities that Ukraine needs to push back Russian aggression today and to deter Russian aggression tomorrow. And I am proud that the United States will soon announce more than $2.3 billion in new security assistance for Ukraine. This package, under presidential drawdown authority, will provide more air defense interceptors, anti-tank weapons, and other critical munitions from U.S. inventories. It will also enable the United States to procure more Patriot NASAMS, air defense interceptors, which will be provided on an accelerated timeline by the resequencing of deliveries for some foreign military sales.
Austin said the latest weapons package for Ukraine would include arms like anti-tank weapons, air defense missiles, and will allow accelerated procurement of NASAMs and Patriot air defense systems. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev on Tuesday during his first visit to Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. During his trip, Orban told Zelensky that continuing war and the question of peace is important, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe. He also wished Ukraine every success in his remarks at a press conference. We try to leave the disputes of the past behind us and refocus on the period ahead. We want relations between the two countries to be much better. The question of peace is important not only for Ukraine but for the whole of Europe. This war, which you are now suffering, has a deep effect on European security. We appreciate the initiatives that President Zelensky has taken for peace. And I asked the President that we could consider a possible reverse order when a quick ceasefire could speed up the peace negotiations. A time-bound ceasefire that gives an opportunity to speed up peace negotiations. I have considered the possibilities of this and I have clarified this with the President. I'm grateful for the honest discussion and answers. Of course, I will prepare a report about these negotiations to the Council of the European Union, to the Prime Ministers, and on the basis of this, the necessary European decisions may be taken. That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.